Hey guys, gonna do another video today. This one I'm just gonna be carving a basic pipe. I'm gonna be using the Cold Steel Finhawk. Now I've gotten some questions before about how I do my carving. If you go on my Instagram, you can see I do have a lot of knives, but I also have a lot of pictures of different carvings that I've done. Today I'm gonna be using birch. If you guys like, I can do another video in the future. Just let me know down in the comments. I can do that video on how I carve out, or how I make the blanks for my carvings, what woods I use, and how to research the woods to make sure that you are using a safe wood. Particularly for if you're going to be using it for smoking, some woods can be toxic. So make sure you do some research. Very quickly, a good resource I've actually found is by accident. One of my favorite woods to carve with is grape wood from grapevines, and I was looking up to see is it all right to use stuff like that. Stumbled onto a couple of different barbecuing forums, believe it or not, and there they talk about all different woods that they like to smoke their meat with or cook with on the grill, and apparently grape wood is on the rise. It's not just hickory and stuff like that anymore. But I figured if it's safe enough to eat, having using those woods to smoke with, then it has to be good. It has to be safe to smoke the wood itself. Well, smoke out of pipes made of that wood. Now, birch is a very beautiful wood. This piece I actually got out of my parents' yard. Maybe 2 years ago, had some blowdown, and birch is one of my favorite woods just to carve with, and just in general, it's such a beautiful wood. This piece was actually a younger piece. That's why instead of being white, it has that brown. But I just thought I would do a little video just kind of showing you how to carve a very simple pipe. I do carve other pipes that are a little more elaborate, have some designs in them. I just thought this would be good for the beginner, anyone who wants to try out wood carving, or try carving a pipe anyway. And it is very simple. I mean, it sounds cliche, but a lot of times the wood, I just let it tell me what it wants, if you will. Or I'll just kind of have a slight idea in my mind of what I'm gonna go with, and then I'll just take it from there. So what I'll do generally to figure out how big I want, say, the mouthpiece or the stem to be, and then the actual bowl part that you're smoking out of. So you can kind of see here's the hole. We're gonna widen that out. I'll show you how to do that with your knife. But what I do is I like to try to make them roughly the same size, and I'll just make a little notch line down there, and then just circle around the wood, taking the bark off. So then I have a pretty good idea of where the carving I'm going to be doing is. And then once I'm done with the mouth part, the stem, then I'll go on to the bowl itself. And like I said, you can make these as elaborate or as simple as you like. It is something that's a great way to pass time, and you don't have to spend that much time either. I mean, birch is a bit on the softer end of wood. It's not as soft as willow, but it's not as hard as something as, say, oak, maple, though they do produce very beautiful carvings. Birch, from what I've noticed, it seems to be just a little bit harder than carving pine. I haven't done any pine pipes, but I have done some spoons and bowls out of pine. I would have to research. I do not know for sure if it's okay to smoke pipes made out of pine. I know when you're cooking over a fire, you don't want to use pine just because the resins and the saps can get into the food. Not necessarily make it toxic or anything, but just makes it taste bad. So if you don't want this messing up your tobacco, right? That's what we're carving it for, is tobacco, right? None of that fancy ganja on this channel. Alright, so I like to I'll just keep moving around the wood. I want to try and keep it even. So that way I can kind of take a quick glance, look at it, see, like, okay, right here, it's a little bit fatter. And I'll just kind of take that off, look at it. Alright, we're getting a good look. Now what I'm going to do is make a little area where it's going to be wider at the mouthpiece. So I'll just kind of see roughly how big I want that to be. Just on this example, that's a smaller pipe. I'm going to do it, I'll say maybe 3/8 of an inch. It doesn't really matter, it's purely up to you. And you don't have to notch it the whole way around unless if it makes you more comfortable. If you're worried about messing up, you can go all the way around the wood. Generally, I'll just kind of do it on the top so it's in line with where you will be packing your pipe. And I'll just kind of start working up to it, using it as a little knife stop, so I won't go further than that. And you do too, you want to be careful how far you go. I have ruined a lot of pipes, and it's very depressing when you put a lot of work into a pipe and you're just going, and you go down a little too far and end up carving into where the hole that you drilled is for the stem. As there's really no fixing that. Once you break through into where the hole for the smoke to go through for you to actually smoke, you pretty much just ruined your pipe. So that's why I actually do this carving first, is make sure I get that the way I want it. And then you just kind of work yourself around. You know, spend a little bit of time and keep moving. Don't stay in one spot. You know, because then you'll end up having high and low spots, just creating more work. So I'll just work myself around. And it's starting to look good there too. Alright. Actually, I'm going to do another little notch thing. And this is all stuff we can clean up. Scarlett, please. Honey, no, she is not. Please go inside. Sorry about that. It's just my kid just looking for my sister. And she wants to show her a new doll she got. Alright. So, there we go. Yeah, so I am actually going to end up doing that a bit. I don't always. It really depends on the shape I'm going for. Sometimes I'll just do it perfectly round for the mouthpiece. And then sometimes I'll do more of like an oval shape. So it'll be longer and then thinner on the top and bottom. You know, and there's a lot of ways you can go with this. You know, that's one of the great things I really love about wood carving is there's no set way to do it. It's just how you want it. You know, it really is a great hobby. Let's see, now we're starting to narrow out. And then once we get it started all the way around, then we can really start going to town. And really bringing that wood down rather. But you do want to be mindful and make sure you're not going too deep. Because other than just having the potential to dig in and creating a hole that you can't fix, sometimes too, if you just remove too much material in one area, it might be too deep for you to carve out, and then you're going to have to kind of work around it. Depending how it looks, you might have to just end up starting over anyway. But that's generally up to the carver themselves. But it's a cool hobby, especially if you know a lot of people that use pipes. A lot of people do think it's very, very cool. You know, these are great for, especially if you're going camping or you hiking, anything like that. You know, being more in tune with nature. And I think it adds a great flavor too. You know, especially, I think my two favorite woods for pipes are the grapewood, like I said, and oak. They just add such a great, great flavor in, and they're just things you can't get with a glass pipe. You know, and like I said, it is something a lot of people think it's really cool. You know, and this is something that's great that, because I also do spoons. I will do some spoon carving videos, but you know, this is something that's a great thing to give as a gift if you know people that use pipes, especially if, like this isn't costing me anything, just time. I already have the knife. You know, the wood was just some blowdown. If you are collecting wood, sometimes I will go in the woods and collect. One thing you will want to do is you will want to let the wood dry a bit. Green wood carving is a thing, and I have messed around with it, but you do need to be careful just because as the wood dries, you can actually have it split. A good example is I have a pine bowl I was actually working on, and it was relatively green. It was a piece I found in the woods, but it was a piece you could tell, I don't know, the forest rangers, whoever, that were clearing some area, and it probably hadn't been down. The cut looked very fresh when I found it. It couldn't have been cut down more than a week or more. And then started making the pipe. First couple of days it was fine, and then I left it for a couple of days, went back to it, and it's had these gnarly cracks in them. So that wasn't too great, but at the same time, I did turn it into a large ashtray. So, I mean, it wasn't a total loss, it just wasn't what I was going for. Now, another thing I'm going to start on here, because this is actually starting to look, I'm actually starting to be happy with how this is looking. Um, Now, depending how your skill is when you're sawing, you do want to try to have as straight of a cut as possible. Like I said, this was a piece from a couple years ago, so I wasn't quite as proficient with sawing in straight lines. I'm not perfect at it now, but I am a lot better now than I was. So what I'm going to do now is start working on evening it out. So I'll see which side is lower. It's lower on this end. So I'm going to start carving on here. Excuse me. Just to even it out. And especially because this is birch, and it's not a very hard wood. You can take it down pretty quickly. You just don't want to go too aggressive, because this is, you call it an end cut. So you do have the potential for what's called tear out. There's actually a small example. So as I'm carving this little tab here, so you just want to be careful, because you can have big pieces taken out. So at all possible, we'll try and avoid that. That is looking pretty good, though. A lot of this, too, we can clean up when we're sanding. Because one of the things I'm going to do with this, too, it's not going to stay flat like this. I'm going to round it and make kind of like a little bulb. I guess that's the right word, like a bulb. So the mouthpiece will end up being probably the size of like a larger marble. Yeah, it's going to look good. Alright, so I just want to make sure we got that. A little bit of tear out taken care of. Now I'm just starting going around. It's called chamfering. So I'm at an angle. I'm just working my way around, going a little bit deeper. And then we're going to just keep doing this and slightly raising our angle. So go around one side at a certain angle. Then once you make a complete circle, raise up a little more, a little more, a little more. And you actually will, instead of going from a flat piece, you'll actually have a nice convex edge. It's a little trickier on this side, because you're working up against the stem, but that's really not a problem at all, and you generally don't have to remove as much material. So you just keep going till you're happy with it. It doesn't have to be perfect. A lot of it you will be cleaning up when you're doing your sanding. There we go. Now I'll even show you, because I'd say we're over 50% done. Once I have this piece all sectioned up, once I have this little piece all done here, the stem is all done, I'm going to start carving the bowl, put a little chamfer around here, and I'll show you quickly the sanding, and then what I use to treat it, because you do want to treat your wood, but you want to, just like with the types of wood you use, what you treat the wood with, so you don't want to use something that could be potentially toxic to someone or yourself. There we go. It's looking really good. I'm just gonna finish cleaning this up on the way around. Oh, see, that is looking really nice. And this is something I know I've already said, but it's a good way to make someone feel special. Because you can buy someone something that makes them, as a gift, will make someone happy. But I look at it like, if you can buy someone a card, or you can make them a card. Granted, I haven't made a card for someone since I was probably a little kid. But it's something that, you can buy someone a pipe. or you can make it, you know? And it just, from what I've found, people, it makes them feel really special because it's more than just, oh, okay, you just went to the store and bought one, which is absolutely fine. But when you actually put that time in, they're like, all right, you didn't spend money, you spent time making that for me. And, that is something that does make people, it just shows that you care, right? Because that's what it's all about. Well, not really, but a lot of times just because I'm a cheap bastard and I have fun making these anyway. I have so many of them just piling up. Actually, on that note, if anybody is interested in buying any of these or other stuff, a very good friend of mine and we have an Etsy account called Troy 2017. And if you do want to check that out, I have some of the pipes I've made, along with some knives that I've done handles and sheaths for. But also, my friend Taylor is extremely talented with sewing. She has this really sick old sewing machine. She makes a lot of her own clothing. She makes a lot of stuff. And stuff that you couldn't just go buy in a store. Or if you could, you'd be spending crazy amounts of money. But you should give us a check out on there, especially Taylor. Her stuff really is, comparing her sewing to my carving, she's far more talented. Oh, this is looking great. I'm really getting happy with that. Alright, so now I just gonna work on just taking this off. Now I don't want to go too deep on this. I'm just going into the wood. Because what I really want to do, oh, here we go, sometimes you can peel it off. But what I really want to do is just clean up any unevenness and just take this bark off, but right down to the wood. I don't want to go too deep. Now, what I have done in the past, actually, and it has come out really well, I've made a couple of pipes like this, but when it's the more mature birch, when it's actually the white all the way around, I'll actually leave the birch on and treat it with the birch on, and it will stay on. And it just adds a cool look. It's different, instead of just being bare wood. There we go. Getting pretty close here. Then we'll just have to go back up and just kind of clean up this area where the bowl meets the stem. That'll just take a moment. But there are a lot of ways you can go with this, You just kind of do what feels right. Your first few, they're not going to be great. Actually, I still have the first pipe I ever made. It looks horrible. It's so horrendous, but I was so proud of it when I made it. I just like to keep it around. Yeah, I still smoke it once in a while, too. But I was just so happy when I made it. I thought it was the coolest thing. There we go. Actually, that's looking pretty good. We didn't do too bad there. Now, this here is just a little bit like with the mouthpiece. It's a little uneven, this cut, and I actually did a little better of a job with. But what I do, too, is I'll still kind of just shave the top layer off, because you can see the saw marks. Oh, excuse me. You can still see the saw marks, so I just like to take those right out. Because then, too, you look at the grain structure of the wood, and to me, I think that's beautiful. Especially with the oak. You just have these beautiful lines. And then it's even kind of cool, too. You can, see the rings in it. I can remember doing that as a kid, counting the rings, how old's the tree. It's looking really good there. See, it's just basic. It's very simple. You can go more simple than this. There we go. I'm just going to put a nice little chamfer on. Because another thing that's great with these, they're not like the glass ones. You can drop them. They won't break. But if you don't put this little chamfer on, what it basically does is you're just strengthening the edge of the wood. Because you can drop it on a hard surface and get some of that tear out, like we experienced over here. So you don't have to worry about breaking the bowl, but then, you can have a piece tear out, and then, a nice chunk of your bowl has just been ripped off. And I'll do like another little one, just kind of clean it up, make it look nice. And this will look so much better once it's sanded. You know, get the carving marks out of it. You know, but these, they're just so great. You know, so this is how we're looking right now. You know, so you can kind of better see the bowl pack area. So we're I'm gonna widen that just a little bit, not too much. You know, and another thing too is you will notice if you haven't really carved much before, wood kind of likes being. Wow, haven't done that in a while. Damn, just got myself good there. That's alright, we keep going. Take care of it when the carving's done. There's a sharp knife. Anyway, more importantly, wood likes to be carved in a certain direction. So you'll kind of see as I'm doing this, I'm kind of spinning the wood around and getting it in different areas. So it's like a quadrant doing it like this. So, you know, there'll be like a quarter of the section of the bowl pack. You know, because then the wood just changes directions. If you keep going with it, you know, you get more of that tear out. You know, or I guess chatter would be a good word. It just kind of, you can see where the blade skips across. Alright, so this bowl has a little blood on it. This is going to be a personal bowl for me now. There we go. But we're starting to just get nice, you know, and even it out, you know, and, you know, depending on the drill bit you use, you know, you can set how big you want the bowl to be. Sometimes you don't even really have to clean it up at all, or you don't have to widen it at all, rather. You just have to clean up any rough edges. Yeah, but this is a good... Oops, sorry about that. I need to hit the chair. Just changing directions, you know. Pay attention to what you're doing. Cut yourself like I did. I mean, no blood's getting in the areas where your mouth is or where what you're smoking. Ooh, I don't know, herb of choice. Stick with tobacco, I'll say. And this will just sand right out, but I don't know. I don't think I'd want to buy a bowl if I knew someone else was bleeding on it. There we go. So that's looking good, you know. Widen it out some. And just make it, you know, as circular as you can. And the same thing too, what I'll do is when I'm carving, I'll just take my thumb with the sandpaper, work it in, and just have a nice smooth area. That looks really, really good. Like, I'm really happy with that. And then too, you will have bits of wood fall into the hole. Sometimes you can just tap them out. But if that doesn't work, just, you know, sometimes you'll just see a little cloud of dust and everything else, especially when you're doing the sanding. Alright, so we're done carving this. Let me grab a piece of sandpaper. Excuse me one moment. Oh, where is it? Oh, there's a piece. There's a piece of 120. It's a little coarser than I'll usually use. I usually like to go with 150 and I'll finish with a 220, but this is absolutely fine. Then what you're doing, you're just kind of working around, you know, and the same thing too, especially don't stay in one spot too long, because you can reshape, you can shape wood with sandpaper, you know, especially the more coarse that it is. So what you would have had that was, say, perfectly round, you spent a little too long in that one spot, now you got a flat spot. Done that once or twice, a lot more than once or twice. I mean, it's how you learn, you know, and it doesn't need to be perfectly smooth. Sometimes I'll leave them, sometimes I think the carving marks, I think actually look nice. You know, I'll just smooth them down a bit, but it'll give you a nice grip on it too when you're holding it, especially if you're passing it around. You know, nothing's worse than dropping one, right? Especially if you're the one who packed it. You don't want your stuff going everywhere. There we go. See, that's nice. There. You know, and then you can just feel it. Just feel around. You know, just be like, are you happy with that? If yeah, move on to the next spot. There you go. Just work yourself around. And just like with the carving, do it for as long or as quick as you like. You know, just for the sake of the video length, I'm not going to spend as long. But I think it'll just be good just for demonstration purposes. You know, and then sometimes what I'll do too is just I'll put a piece just on my knee and just and it's a great way to kind of flatten it out. And you'll put a little more of a like a 90-degree kind of, I don't know, bevel edge angle on, you know. So then I'll just do the same thing like I did with the knife. I'll just hold one of either the sandpaper or the pipe at an angle. Just work it around. Put that chamfer back on. Yeah, you don't have to worry about tear out. The one place I will usually spend a little bit more time, even if I'm just doing a quick sand, is the mouthpiece. One thing I do love is when I do give a pipe to someone after they've smoked it a bit. You know, they'll always talk about how smooth the pipe piece is, the mouthpiece is. Actually, another thing you can do too is put the sandpaper in your palm, and then where it wraps, I'll just take like a rounded portion, so say the mouthpiece, or even sometimes I'll just do like a rounded dome for the bowl part. And then you can just work it into your hand and kind of just move it around in different directions. And you smooth that whole area out. Yeah, see, that's looking good. Yeah, that's looking good. Then the only other thing you will need isn't something you can necessarily make yourself. I mean, if you know how, please let me know. I haven't figured out how yet. But you will want to get screens for it. Now, I haven't tried the glass screens, but I mean, you can go on Amazon. That's what I usually do. Or if I'm in the smoke shop, I'll just pick up some of those metal screens. I'd recommend go with the silver ones. I don't know if they make those out of steel, but the brass ones, those just fall apart really quickly. They're very malleable, and they don't last very long. That's why I really would recommend the steel ones. Most of the time, they're the same price. Why not? Or you can go on Amazon. You know, I've even seen it'll be like $10 and you'll get like 500 screens. Just all stuff like that, you know. And then before you treat it, I mean, I just use my shirt. If you have like a rag or a cloth that's relatively clean, this is actually a clean shirt. So now that we're ready to treat, you just hold on one moment. Anything that I carve, that I use, that's going to be anything that has to do with human consumption. If it's a spoon, if it's a pipe, anything that a person could possibly ingest, any part that has been treated, what I use is this stuff. I mean, there's all different brands. This is mineral oil, but this one is made for cutting boards. So you know right there, because it's made for cutting boards, it is food safe. It is 100% good to go. You know, and because this stuff, it's not going to hurt you. I don't mind. I just like putting it right in my hand, and then I'll just massage it around. You know, I won't usually go into the bowl pack itself, but if a little gets in, it's not a big deal. It's 100% food safe, right? You know, and then, boom. Here we go. Got ourselves a nice little pipe. And I'll do a lot more videos on these. This is just kind of a funsies, you know, but yeah, here we go, guys. You know, leave a like, a comment, subscribe. I really hope you enjoy this. Let me know what else you guys want to see. Maybe next time we'll do a fancy pipe. We'll do a bowl, do a pipe. We're doing a pipe. You know, maybe next time we can do a bowl, a spoon. You know, I've even done little basic spatulas, anything. Actually, there's a cup I'm working on for my daughter right here. This one's out of pine. I made her a spoon, you know, so this is her little pipe. For my sister, I made mortar and pestle. there's an oak pestle with a birch mortar, so you can kind of see. It still has the bark on it. Flattened it out, hollowed out the inside. It was basic. This one didn't come out as great as I would like, but she really likes it. So let me know what you guys think. Have a great night. Like, comment, subscribe. Catch you guys later.